Fantastic Four takes over the cinemas. The Avatar Fire and Ash trailer premieres. Plus, it's our annual San Diego Comic-Con episode with a super packed lightning round. All that and more coming up right after this. Welcome to Multiverse News, your source for information about all your favorite fictional universes. My name's Matthew Carroll, and with me today are Jay Sisson. What's happening, Jay?
Hey, happy to be back. A couple weeks off. Thankful to Zuhair and Bill for filling in for me. And, but I missed being here. I'm glad to be back on Multiverse News.
Yeah, man, we're glad to have you. Glad you're back. And, Haley Hobbs, what's happening, my friend?
Oh, I'm here to herald people's endings if they deserve them, and talk about the news.
Haley, you and I are sharing the same brain cell right now because I was totally going to do the I herald his beginning, I herald his end, I herald Multiverse News. So I'll just say the prodigal host has returned. Welcome back, Jay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome, Jay Scotty. Let's just jump right in. We got a 5-star review from TJD9582. They say, the best place to keep up with all my favorite nerdy content. Thank you, TJD. We're glad you like it. Glad we can help you keep up a little bit. So you guys doing all right tonight?
Not too shabby. How about you?
It's really hot, constantly, and that sucks a lot. But other than that, we're doing all right.
Good. Oh man. Speaking of heat, I burned myself tonight. I don't know if you can't really see it. It's not.
What did you burn yourself on?
I fried some chicken bits in oil, and it wasn't good. I
Reed Richards move, it sounds like.
Yeah, yep, real Reed Richards move. All right, well, speaking of, let's move into our first story. Marvel Studios fired up the Fantasti-Car with glee as Matt Shakman's The Fantastic Four First Steps opened to a global $218 million for its first weekend. Marvel's first family just edged out Superman's Thursday night preview with a $24.4 million to Superman's $22.5 million. But no fear, the DCU's first feature film is flying high, having just passed the $500 million mark globally and is potentially closing in on Jurassic World Rebirth's $600 million global take. It's a super strong July box office, no?
Yeah, it's exciting to see all three of these movies doing well and having hot starts out the gate, because I think for our show, we started this show a couple years ago, and I feel like this month is kind of like we've been kind of leading to this month for a long time. We talked about James Gunn getting appointed the head of DC Studios, and then Superman, and casting for Fantastic Four was kind of like an early joke in the show, like things like that. And so it's like kind of leading up to that, seeing these movies have these strong box office showings and being alongside of each other. I think is pretty cool, and it's pretty encouraging if you're a fan of these things, which I know we all are. And it is interesting, like how close Fantastic Four and Superman's worldwide box offices truly were. Superman beat Fantastic Four, but it was by like $2 million or something. Like it was right there. So I think that's encouraging if you're a fan of the genre. I know here we're not too keen on being like a super fan of one and hating the other. I know some people out there are, but I think most people who like one sort of at least are like open to liking the other, and is going to be in the theater for both, especially if you're listening to the show. And so I am interested, though, in seeing our week 2, because that has kind of been, when it comes to especially the past couple Marvel movies like Captain America, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts, we've seen these like really steep declines. Like they have these like really nice opening weekends where we kind of are like, hey, like looks pretty good. It's like north of 100 or whatever domestically. Like we're feeling okay about it. But then in that second weekend, it's just kind of dries up like really fast, right? So I'm interested to see that. Now, all three of these movies have been received very well. They have high audience scores as well as critic scores on Rotten Tomatoes, so that's encouraging. People are coming out and with high praise for all three. So yeah, I think we're just kind of in an age where we're seeing the box office have a lot of success. Movies are not afraid to go up against one another at the box office, and I think the Marvel DC coming out at the same time thing, like I like that. I'm excited for that to be here again. There was a long time where that really wasn't the case. You kind of saw DC really fumble a few times up against Marvel movies, and I think it's encouraging to see them both doing well alongside one another.
Well, I think the question on everyone's mind is which was better, the Fantastic Four or Superman? And like you said, Jay, we can have that conversation if you want. And as long as it stays friendly, I'm glad to have that debate and that conversation. But I really think this is a best case scenario, like we talk about it, Marvel versus DC. But really, when the numbers come in like this and they're that consistent across the board, and you see both movies having great opening weekends and consistent second weekends, it's just encouraging to me. And like I said, it really is a best case scenario. So did Fantastic Four win? It won the Thursday night. Superman won the weekend. But ultimately, I'm the winner because I enjoyed both of these movies a lot. And we can put the phrase superhero fatigue to bed, at least until next summer. So that's a win for me. But I will have to say, I've seen both movies multiple times at this point, and I've had a little bit of time to mull it over. And you may call it a cop-out, but I really have to say, I think these movies are equal in my opinion. I think they are both 8 out of 10s, and I think they could both learn a lesson from each other, where I think Superman could have benefited from playing it a little more safe and not have been so bloated. I think the Fantastic Four could have benefited from playing it a little less safe, in my opinion. So, again, the fact that both of these movies are doing as well as they are, both with audiences and with critics, is just a huge boon to this genre and for fans like us. But the story really will be told in the weeks ahead. Will Fantastic Four... I think there is an argument to be made that Marvel movies and maybe Fantastic Four, even with the Thursday night preview being a little bit bigger, that they tend to be a little more front-loaded. So it'll be interesting to see if Fantastic Four has the same kind of legs, or if Superman continues to have the legs, because now that it's crossed 500 million, it is quote-unquote profitable. But like we were kind of saying before these movies came out, what is the new normal for superhero or comic book movies? And I think I would expect both of these movies, based on opening weekends and just word of mouth, that they want to land in the 700 to 800 million, target before they end their theatrical runs. But again, we'll have to see what these next couple of weeks look like.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, which one's better? That is a tough question you pose, Jay Scotty. I have a really hard time with it. I'm leaning toward Fantastic Four right now, but it may be recency bias. I really don't know. I really like them both. What's interesting to me is we've been talking for months about how similar in tone they seemed, and in some ways that's still true, but now that I've seen them both, they feel so different to me. I feel like Fantastic Four feels more cohesive altogether. I think it feels more, I don't know, I hate to say it because I love James Gunn, but it feels more like competently put together. Like it just feels like it hangs as one story that moves towards one real goal, and Superman feels super, jumpy all over the place. It's chasing squirrels.
Sure.
Or saving squirrels.
Saving squirrels, exactly.
Well, Crypto does the chasing, Superman does the saving.
That's true. Yeah, it feels a little chaotic compared to and I really enjoyed it as I've talked about on here, but Fantastic Four feels epic in a very different way. And I don't know. I almost feel like Superman's more fun, but Fantastic Four is just so much more grounded. Like the characters feel much more real to me in Fantastic Four, and that's I just connected with them on a deeper level when I watched it.
I agree with you, Matt, like 100%. I think Fantastic Four is just a more solid movie than Superman. The writing is just rock solid. Like they didn't leave a lot of room for, any kind of any big questions or holes. Like, yeah, there's some hand wavy, whatever, but it's not something that makes you go, oh, well, now I don't care, or it doesn't make any sense. And Brian and I talked about Fantastic Four and Source Pages, episodes out now. And just like the visuals of it, the score, the writing, I felt so connected to all of the characters. I've seen a lot of discourse online, especially about Ben Grimm. I loved Eben Moss-Bachrach's characterization of Ben Grimm. I thought he was so warm and wonderful. So yeah, I think Fantastic Four edges out Superman in terms of which is a better movie. And I'll die on that hill, and I don't care. You can come for me in the comments. I know people love Superman. I just have a lot of issues with the writing. and the structure of the movie. But interesting, how close they were in running with the box office for sure. I think, I've said before, and like Scotty said tonight, this probably is the going rate for superhero movies from now on. I don't think we ever really get back to just blowing out of the box office like we used to. And I think it's just because of the economics of it. Like we've talked before, it's the scarcity versus not thing. So I'm really happy that it's doing well. It'll be so interesting to see these end numbers. Look at Jurassic World pulling in $600 million, and that movie's like not that great. It's like, it's fun, but it's like not a great movie. And yet people love that franchise, so they went out to see it. So great to see July pulling so strong. Sorry, Smurfs, you had a bit of a biff there in the box office, but they probably shouldn't have put you out in July.
I'm not sorry. Quit making Smurf movies, please.
They never will.
I know.
Not if Rihanna will be in it.
I think I'm with you guys too. I think I like Fantastic Four a little bit more than Superman. It's not much. They're very close for me. I had a similar experience for both at the theater. Like I found myself kind of like engaged through the movie, liking the movie, walking away being like, I got like a little nitpicky thing here or there, but nothing that made me walk away and go, this movie's clearly better than this one. I think they're very different flavors though. I mean, you guys kind of laid out exactly what I was thinking too. Like one is a lot more grounded in something, one is launching something and you can feel that. It's like Superman felt like, and I liked it, but it felt kind of chaotic to me, like as I was watching the movie. It was very, very quick, very busy, and I know Gunn sort of talked about that before the movie, but I think there is a right way and a wrong way to just throw you right into a world. I'm not opposed to doing that. Like, people always bring up Spider-Man Homecoming as a good example of that, and I think that's a good example of that. I don't know if I'd call some of the choices of throwing us into Superman quite the best way that they could have thrown us in. But again, I walked away liking the movie quite a lot. I see a lot of online discourse trying to match it up to Man of Steel's box office and being like, look, it's this with Man of Steel. It's like, you just can't do, like, that was a different time. Like, that was just a very different time across the board in terms of not just the box office, which has changed dramatically since Man of Steel, but just the superhero genre and interest in superhero movies as a genre. Like, that has radically shifted since that movie came out. And I know that they're both Superman, and that's why people do it. And you've got the whole, like, Snyder stuff and all of that, and that's why people do it. But at the end of the day, it's just, even though they're both Superman movies, we are comparing apples to oranges when we try to just be like, well, is it better than Man of Steel's box office or not? It's just, it is a different time, even though it doesn't feel that long ago in terms of the time that movie came out. It is kind of like a very radically different thing. So yeah, we've talked about it and we'll continue to talk about it on this show. I think that the end number, that's what I'm really interested to see when we get out of these movies. It's like Superman, I think, it's what they needed to see. It's what Warner Brothers needed to see in terms of a box office. I think we're going to start to see it really slow down. I don't think we're going to see these like huge box offices for it. And same with Fantastic Four. I think like we'll have a couple like okay weekends, but then we'll see it really start to slow down. These movies aren't getting to like $1 billion, but that's fine. Right. They don't have to. We're not going to walk away and be like, what's a failure because it didn't hit $1 billion. One is launching a universe. One is launching a whole other set of characters that are going to appear in team up movies, and we'll probably get a sequel. It's like there's more to be done with these, and they did what they had to do, and they'll continue to do what they had to do to do that and be considered a success. So yeah, I think James Gunn was at Comic-Con. We'll talk about that in a little bit. He kind of got to do his victory lap, with Superman. And I think like if you're excited about the DCU, you've got a lot of hope here because Warner Brothers is going to back it. And if you're excited about Marvel and you've been kind of wanting to see the MCU kind of get its mojo back a little bit, you got to be excited after this weekend too, because Fantastic Four is going to be a key group of characters in this upcoming Avengers movie. And that's, I think, like you have to be encouraged if you're Kevin Feige.
Yeah. The $1 billion conversation is interesting. I think they're both in rebuilding phases, even if one is literally starting a new thing and one is, still going to be building on the 616. They're both really starting from a place of the fandom has lost some trust and they're needing to get those fans back. And those few years around prior to Endgame and Infinity War, where everything was making $1 billion, is because there was a few they had built up to that. Like, those first few movies didn't make $1 billion. They all built into that. And so if they can, I don't know, I don't have it on top of my head, but I don't think Iron Man got close. But it like built that, and it eventually
Iron Man 3 was the only of that franchise to cross $1 billion.
Right. That's around that Iron Man 3, Captain America 2, that sort of phase 2, beginning of phase 3 is when things started hitting $1 billion every time. And I think we're just in a rebuilding phase. And if they can capture that magic again, and the franchise feels exciting to a lot of people, and they all feel like they got to go see it multiple times, and everyone in culture wants to see it because it's an exciting thing again, I think that's where you got to get to. Marvel's starting really strong. I think this, with Thunderbolts being so good and Fantastic Four being so good in 1 year, I feel like we're building towards something really exciting.
Yeah, this had early MCU feel to me, and I won't spoil anything, but like it had that early MCU feel because there's new characters, it's a new story, it's a villain that they get to fight, and then at the end it teases this like big new thing. With the same characters, like this is the next step. That's what the early MCU did a really good job of. It didn't feel like, we've talked about it a lot. There's been a lot said about a lot of the post-credit scenes have not led anywhere. That's no mystery. But this didn't feel like that. This felt like a lot of purpose, like in what we're building to. Like the story had purpose, and the end credit scene had purpose, and we're looking to the next thing, which is what the MCU was kind of built on.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to our next story. This year's San Diego Comic-Con may have felt a little demure, with no large presences from Marvel Studios or DC Studios, but there's still plenty to talk about. Let's break down some highlights. I got a couple stories here. Season 2 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians will premiere this year on December 10th on Disney+. Casting for Season 3 characters Nico and Bianca D'Angelo was announced by author Rick Riordan, with Levi Chrisopulos and Olive Abercrombie in the roles, respectively.
I liked Percy Jackson Season 1. I don't have like a huge tie to the books like I know some people do, but it was enjoyable for the kids show that it was, and people who were excited about it were very excited, and it's premiering on my wedding anniversary, so that's cute.
Nice. Nice. All right, Rob Reiner shared the first trailer for Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. The film will release on September 2nd of this year.
Yeah, the original This Is Spinal Tap is a film that I kind of had to seek out just because it gets referenced as much as it does, like Turn It Up to 11, so many GIFs and memes out there, but it did come out before, I was even thought of. So it was one of those movies I had to go back and visit. But visiting this trailer gave me a profound appreciation for what an influence Rob Reiner in that film had on the mockumentary. And I think we're kind of returning to like a golden age of the mockumentary and the spoof movie. Like I'm really excited for The Naked Gun with Liam Neeson coming out in a few weeks here. But I was really impressed with the number of like big name musical artists that they were able to bring in. And just with the humor and the talking head interviews, I just kind of like came away with the appreciation for what an influence it had on like the original UK version of The Office, which went on to inspire the US version, which has basically created a whole genre of television for us nowadays. So I think September is a great time to release it. September used to be a dump month for movies, but now I think it's kind of like carved out this nice little niche for like indie films or films like this. Like I think Beetlejuice 2 came out in like late September, early October last year and had a lot of success. So hopefully this can do something similar.
This trailer excited me a lot. I haven't seen Spinal Tap in a long time, but I did love it, and I love these guys. And yeah, I just searched it online, and Google says when I just search first mockumentary, this is it. This is Spinal Tap. I don't know if that's
the internet said so.
The internet says so. Google AI, always reliable, says that this is the first mockumentary. But yeah, this trailer looked great. A lot of little references to the original Spinal Tap. I really like the Spinal Tap 2 being Stonehenge. The 2 being Stonehenge was really funny. There's a great Stonehenge scene in the first Spinal Tap movie. And this Spinal Tap has a really storied history. They also did a Mighty Wind many years later, which was like the same guys in a different band, but they're doing like a folk band. You know, anyway. So for years they actually went on tour together. They actually did musical performances where they would play as the folk band opening for Spinal Tap, and they would do like little concerts. And I just think it's cool that this has such a life after this first Spinal Tap, and now we've got this new one. It's very cool. And then just to round it off, we've got early access footage from a range of projects was shown at SDCC. Attendees were treated to viewing bits of Peacemaker Season 2, The Boys spinoff Gen V's second season trailer, Aztec Batman, The Long Walk, It, Welcome to Derry, Coyote vs. Acme, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Project Hail Mary, and Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of a strange middle ground year for Comic-Con because, normally we're used to the big showmanship of Comic-Con. You have the big panels, you have like the famous Marvel Hall H panels and things like that. And now we have DC Studios really getting off the ground, but we're just not in a spot for either of those. I mean, those are typically like your big leaders, like the DCs and the Marvels of these events, of announcing big things and the big reveals. Like last year we had the Robert Downey Jr. thing and all of that. Now we're kind of getting to a point where they're in these weird spots. So like DC was there, but they were there for Peacemaker. That was not a DC Studios panel. It was not like a future of DC Studios type thing. Because they're not really in a place to do that. Like they just launched Superman and they have like some stuff in the works, but not any stuff that they can really reveal yet. Like it's not that far down the line. And then the stuff that they've already announced is already there. And then Marvel's in the same position. Like they have Fantastic Four coming out, but they don't have another movie coming out until Avengers Doomsday because, Spider-Man is kind of in a different conversation. And that's over a year away. So you're not going to, there's nothing to talk about with Avengers Doomsday. Like, you can't come out and start confirming things that are 3, 4, 5 years away or whatever. So, it kind of left us in this spot where, we kind of had a lot of panels. They were smaller. They weren't really announcing a lot of huge things, but they were showing off footage from stuff that's already confirmed. But still, I think as a fan event, that can still be a good thing. It doesn't get quite like the online pop that maybe the Hall H stuff does. But you can still satisfy fan bases by having these kind of like cool conversations. The Peacemaker Season 2 panel was it's kind of like James Gunn was there, John Cena was there. Like it was they showed the dance, they showed from the opening credits. Like it was a good time, right? Like for people in attendance. And then like the Project Hail Mary panel, I just finished that book like 2 or 3 days ago. And so I went and watched like some bits from that, and it looks like funny and fun, and like Ryan Gosling was like loving it, and like I don't know, it's just there's things like that can still be of value, even if it's not what we think of when we think of like shutting it down with Hall H and showing the phase whatever and Feige's up there. Like it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have the same pop, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that if it is aiming to kind of be a fan event. So still some exciting stuff. I do want to touch on the Coyote versus Acme thing. Like that was the thing that we've talked about where like it was a Warner Brothers thing and then they tried to shelve it and then they ended up kind of getting pressured into letting it out there. What I think is really interesting about this is that James Gunn, who is a producer on this and helped write the story, and John Cena, who actually is in the movie, were both at Comic-Con on the day that the panel was going on and did not go to the panel, which I think is kind of interesting because like it's almost like maybe they were told not to by Warner Brothers, So I thought that was I just got a thought like, of course he would be there. Of course John Cena would be there. But no, they didn't. I thought that was kind of interesting. But no, they had a fun bit though. They had like a guy show up as an Acme lawyer and try to like shut the panel down and stuff. And it was like a funny bit that kind of went along with it. So, I think how are you going to measure success of Comic-Con? I mean, it just depends. Like, how are you going to measure success? I think if you're going to measure it in terms of is it trending massively, maybe not. But I don't think we have to measure its success that way.
Well, I think we don't talk about a key part of Comic-Con, which is like the cosplaying and stuff like that, which is what a lot of people go there to do.
Yeah, totally.
Go there for. So I think those elements were still really strong for people in that community who love that kind of thing. I will echo about Project Hail Mary. Jay and I like read it at the same time basically, and I listened to the audiobook, and people in the Strand Panda Facebook group had recommended that, and it was truly one of the best books I've read in recent memory. I mean, like, I have some books I really loved, but that book made me laugh and that book made me cry, and I'm really excited for the movie now. So thanks to everybody who recommended it, and definitely check it out if you're into that kind of thing. But I will also say what's not listed here that I didn't put in was they did an Outlander panel, which is relevant because Ashley and I are rewatching Outlander and covering every episode over on Always Watching. And that show is starting next year early. So I did watch a lot of stuff on that. So there were like some niche things I think that were important to people who are in those fandoms. It just wasn't the big ta-da. And Jay, we missed you last week when we talked about Kevin Feige's roundtable with journalists and getting your take on that, but that was his Hall H. Like, he said, hey, come on in, I'll talk to you now. My movie's coming out, it's going to be great. And behind these lockers, I have plans for the next 7 years, but I'm not telling you what they are, which, smart move, they're figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll chime in to talk about Peacemaker and Gen V, which are both giving us their season 2 trailers here. And with Peacemaker season 2, we've talked at length about how it's going to fit into this very convoluted continuity James Gunn already has with his DCU. And I was kind of simultaneously surprised and impressed with the fact that they were just like, there's a parallel universe where things are better. That's just how it is. And I had a tough time. I can't tell if that's going to be the thrust for the season or if that's just going to be an episode 1 thing. And knowing James Gunn, I suspect that's just going to be an episode 1 thing. Like, the big conflict of episode 1 is, hey, we're in this universe. We're going to make the transition to this universe. And so what the big threat will be going forward from there, I'm very well. Actually, they teased it a little bit with it. Rick Flag having an axe to grind with Chris, our Peacemaker here. So, and it's less than a month away. So it's so interesting. We're talking about Fantastic Four and Superman, but here we have the next entry in the DCU, and it's just so tonally different. While Superman did have its irreverence and funny moments because it's a James Gunn movie, it's going to. Still, Peacemaker is just such a different tone, and we've been talking about, the Batman is such a different tone from James Gunn's Superman. Could Pattinson ever fit in? It's just James Gunn's DCU is what he says it's going to be, and be so tonally different. I think there's a world where that could work. Now, Gen V is a little more difficult for me to kind of extrapolate what the overall season might look like, because they were not shy about including Aaron Moriarty, who plays Starlight. So again, I kind of get the sense that's probably your big guest star just there for like the first episode, maybe the first couple of episodes. But I did take it as like a vote of confidence. It was like, season 1 of Gen V was a trial. And I waited to watch it actually until the latest season of The Boys was coming out, and I went back and watched it, but I thought it was great. So I look forward to seeing more of not just The Boys, but Gen V specifically.
There's so many things here, and you guys already spoke on some of them. So I don't. It's one of those weeks where there's so many trailers and stuff that we can't have time to talk about everything. One thing I thought was kind of fun, the Long Walk trailer, the Stephen King book adaptation. I just think it's interesting that Stephen King has such a storied career that at the beginning of a trailer they can say what movies he's been a part of, and it gives you an idea of what the tone of this is. Like the beginning of this trailer, it was like Stand By Me and a couple others that have that sort of like more realistic, less fantastical. Misery was one of them. Like less fantastical. Like it's like if he's making a horror movie, it'll be like from the creator of, and it'll like the It and all these other things. It's just so funny to have a guy who has such a storied career that he can like just have here's one resume of movies and here's a completely different resume of movies if you're making this kind of movie of mine. Like that was kind of neat.
Well, then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got the Running Man trailer, which has been playing in theaters lately, and it's still been one of my favorite trailers to watch in the theater consistently.
Yeah.
Conversely, I'm listening to that book right now, and it's not as interesting. It's Project Hail Mary was. Started off good. It's losing me here at the end.
We'll blame that on Richard Bachman.
Yeah, totally. It's his fault.
But yeah, another one I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. They just started back in their third season, their fourth season. They had a few sneak peeks that they put out. One of them being they're apparently doing some sort of puppet episode with Jim Henson next year, and that's weird but fun. Last year they did a musical episode. So just doing these kind of just big swing, high concept weirdness episodes is a lot of fun. And one of my favorite episodes, the episode that got me into Joss Whedon, like just at all, was an episode of Angel. That was a puppet episode. And I watched it. It's from the last season of Angel. So it's like the last thing of the Buffyverse. For some reason, that's the first thing I ever saw. It was like on my girlfriend's parents' TiVo or something. And I watched, I was like, oh, that's really cool. That was actually a lot of fun. And then I went back and started at the beginning of Buffy and went all the way through, and it became one of my favorite shows. And so I want to like laugh and be like, a puppet episode, really? But like they did such a good job in Angel that it makes me like much more accepting of a puppet episode.
Never underestimate the power of a puppet episode.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel.
It's a lost art.
It is. It really is. And I've watched a lot of behind the scenes of like some of the Jim Henson stuff from back in the day, Dark Crystal, and some of the ways that like, and just the way of them creating a set for the puppets to move around on the Enterprise. Like that just seems really interesting. And I'm excited for it.
I'm happy to inform you Patrick H. Willems has a whole video all about puppets in film. So go seek that one out.
That might be one of the ones I watched. I think I may have watched his, and then it sent me down a rabbit hole of other puppet cinema. Patrick H. Willems, one of our favorite YouTubers.
Yeah.
Great stuff. All right, let's move on to our next big story. Speaking of the Fantastic Four, moviegoers were treated to the first trailer for James Cameron's third Avatar film prior to the latest MCU flick. Avatar: Fire and Ash will premiere December 19th, 2025, and the sweeping trailer shows us the continued expansion of the world of Pandora, with Jake Sully this time facing a Na'vi antagonist. Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana reprise their roles in the franchise, along with many returning cast members, and more storied actors have joined, such as David Thewlis and Michelle Yeoh. We all saw it. Who has the hottest take on the latest entry into Avatar?
I'm not sure it's possible for me to have too hot a take other than lukewarm when it comes to Avatar. But I like the franchise. I don't love the franchise, but what it has been consistently able to do is to get me to go out to see the movies in theaters, and not just one time, but multiple times, because they are experiences. So I think the kindest thing I can say about the original Avatar, which came out in 2009, and I think I saw it at least 4 times. Now, bear in mind, I was 19 years old at the time, not as fully formed a film fan as I am these days, but it was an experience, like I said. I'm reminded of when my dad would tell me stories about going to see Star Wars back in 1977 when he was 12 years old, and just what an experience that was for him. So I really do. I think back to seeing the movie the first time in 2009 with the IMAX 3D goggles and just being dazzled by the 3D technology on display. So beyond that, Way of Water was okay. I like the world enough that every time the movies come out, I'm willing to check them out and be somewhat interested in the world. Like I even played the Ubisoft video game Skies of Pandora or Worlds of Pandora or something like that. And I had the same kind of impression I do of the movies. This is like fun to be in the world. It's very imaginative, very visually striking and evocative, but I completely forget about it afterwards. So all that being said, I have seen this trailer a couple of times. I saw Fantastic Four twice. I saw it Thursday night. And when I went to see it again Saturday, I went to see it with a friend who has not seen any of the Avatar movies. So we saw it in Dolby, so I did have to turn to her, and I asked her, like, as somebody that has not seen any of these movies, like, what'd you think about that? And she just kind of had like a wowed look on her face, and she's like, it looks pretty epic. And I was like, yeah, I mean, for all their faults and being paper thin retellings of stories that have been told in a better way that we've seen in the past, Fern Gully, I'm looking at you. They are just, they're an experience in the theater to behold. And that's one thing you can never count James Cameron out. Like, I have my own issues with his character, but the guy always delivers when it comes to the box office numbers. So I will say the Na'vi antagonist, both times that she came onto screen, and that eyeliner underneath her eyes and the way she says your goddess has no dominion. I don't know if that's Michelle Yeoh or not, but I believe it is. And she definitely delivered that line with a lot of venom.
I'll give you a hot take. I don't care about the Avatar franchise. I just don't care. I understand that they were groundbreaking when they came out, because they were, right? That was all huge new technology and stuff like that. But now it's not. And because he's like taken so long to film these films, it's like, oh, okay. And I saw the first one and it wasn't for me. Fern Gully Nation, rise up. I mean, Robin Williams as a rapping bat, it really doesn't get better than that.
So
yeah,
true.
that movie's the best. That's my hot take. Peace out, Avatar. I will never watch those movies.
They do get people to come to the theater though who like won't come for anything else. Like they will not go to the theater for anything, but when they see avatars in the theater, like they will go to. That's why these movies routinely just like James Cameron just cashes these $1 billion checks, you know, like when he makes these movies, because it's what we talk about all the time. Like, what are you doing to make your movie a spectacle? Like, what are you doing to get people to come see it in the theater rather than just catch it on whatever streaming service it ends up on their huge TVs at home? Well, Avatar is a big theater movie, you know, like it is visually striking when you see it. And even that preview before Fantastic Four, I wasn't sitting there being like, man, I'm super interested in this, because like you guys, I'm not super invested in the story of Avatar, but I did find myself a few times just being like, this looks absolutely amazing. And I think like that's the hook here, you know, and that's why a lot of people clear their calendars to go see these movies in theaters, because, well, I mean, I can't really see it the same way if I watch it at home.
Yeah. Man, it's weird. I feel like James Cameron somehow, sold his soul at the crossroads or something, because like he can create new worlds and make $1 billion in ways that other people can't. I mean, the Terminator franchise, I don't think it made $1 billion, but for its time, it was humongous. Terminator 2, and it's just like those worlds that are coming from his mind or from the writer's mind, like new worlds, new things. And I just don't know why Avatar doesn't stick to the ribs. I don't know, like, because it is enjoyable. Like maybe it is the paper thin thing you mentioned, Jay Scotty, or maybe it's the fact that there isn't source material, because it's not like you go, oh, well, wait till there's not like a group of fans waiting around for like, oh, wait till you hear about the next thing that happens. Or part of me thinks maybe it has something to do with the fact that it's like you're going to a single world instead of like we're in a universe apparently where the human race has spread out across the stars, but we're only exploring this one world. You know what I mean? Because it's not about the human race; it's about the Na'vi. So it's like, is it because it's about one place instead of the kind of a galaxy spanning worlds that could be? You know, I just don't know. Like it just never sticks to my ribs. I never want to like know more about Pandora, really. Like, I don't know why.
I feel like we know enough.
Yeah, maybe there's something to be said by having such a like diluted kind of like universally appealing story that doesn't offend or ruffle any feathers. Like, I think one of the things I remember hearing about Way of Water is that it was almost like watching a nature documentary just on another planet. So I think that's why we see, these huge numbers for the box office, because it's just like, doesn't matter what language you speak, it's just visual storytelling on display. So for people like us that really appreciate, strong character moments and development, might be lacking there, but there's just that universal appeal on a visual level.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people, while Marvel was in its $1 billion phase, there's a lot of people that complained about the sort of how ugly the movies were, the sort of color scaling and gray tone of everything, and how it's more. I mean, honestly, I watch those movies and I love them, but a lot of the shots are just like action movie shots. They're close up, they're people banging into each other. There's less like vistas and environments. Not all of them. I think Black Panther does well with that. Both Black Panthers do well with that, and the Avengers movies. But I just feel like there's something that gets people out of their houses about these movies, like you're talking about, with it being so visually arresting and just feeling so epic and not having to know anything almost, because it's so streamlined and simple, like you said. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Weird franchise. In a world of franchises that feel like they're all kind of following behind each other and trying to figure out the formula, James Cameron's just over there doing this other thing, and it's making $1 billion every time. I don't know how he does it.
Well, when you re-release it because of Avengers Endgame, sure.
Well, it still made $1 billion on its first run, I think, both times.
He needed to collect that extra, like, $200,000 or whatever. Get
Yeah.
him over the top.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, really silly.
Well, and we talk about premium screens on here sometimes too, and a lot like that is driving a lot of these box office numbers that we talk about. Like that's like if you think about like Superman gave up a lot of its premium screens because of Fantastic Four, so like its box office numbers are going to drop because of that. Because like a lot of people, that's the thing. It's like, well, I'm not going to go see it in a regular theater because I can just watch it at home, but I would go see it in IMAX, or I would go see it at like, the big premium screens. That's a huge component of your box office numbers, and Avatar just like eats that up. Like people will go see those huge IMAX screenings of Avatar. It's just some movies, like if you can really capture that. I mean, we saw it with the Odyssey tickets, like disappearing at a minute after going on sale. Like that is... there's these like people who will watch these movies in IMAX and buy tickets for them, and that's going to drive a huge part of your Avatar box office numbers.
Yeah. All right. Coming up after the break in the lightning round, we've got Eyes of Wakanda premiering this week. Solar Opposites announces the final season. Casting for the next Meet the Parents continues, and so much more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Multiverse News. We got a Patreon, you guys. Patreon.com/Multiverse Newscast, and Jay Sisson's going to tell us about it.
Well, you won't hear any soulful singing like that over on Patreon, but what you will get if you decide to join our Patreon, which is only $4 a month, by the way. So we're not asking a ton. We're not asking you to break the bank for us. But if you've got the means and you want to come over and give us about $1 an episode or so to keep making this, you'll get access to these episodes with no ads, which is always nice. You'll also get access to some special episodes when we do them. Sometimes we'll pop up some quick kind of small talk type episodes up there. You'll get a little bit of a discount on our merch. We do have a merch store as well. And and you get to interact with us. We have special polls over there. You get a sticker that we send to you, and you don't even have to pay anything for it. We just send it to you as a thank you for being a patron. So we really appreciate it. And the patrons are great for doing what they do, and we like to make this show, and it's always good to have people who like to listen to it and feedback into it, and it's a cool way for you to be able to tangibly help kind of make the show. In addition to giving us reviews and downloading and subscribing and doing all those things, you can tangibly like have a hand in making the show by being a patron. So if you are interested in hopping on that train, we are at patreon.com/Multiverse Newscast.
Yeah, get to it. Get over there. And we have a patron of the week this week, Terza Kelm. Thank you, Terza, for being a patron. We really appreciate you. And we also we wanted to announce the PS5 winner for the PS5 contest. The PS5 winner is Nicholas Oterola.
Tell him what he's won.
Thank you guys so much for participating. Nicholas has won a PS5 and 2 Marvel games. We did a review submission contest where a lot of people sent in their reviews, and we really appreciate it. We got hundreds. It's like something like 800 reviews, I think, and that's amazing. We really appreciate all you guys doing that. And took me a little while to get all the emails together and figure out how many reviews everybody sent in and all that. But I appreciate y'all being patient. But Nicholas, you'll be getting your PS5 shortly. And let's see. We have a Spotify poll for this week. Who will have the bigger opening box office weekend, Superman or Fantastic Four? And you guys came out with 42% of you said Superman and 57% of you said Fantastic Four. It's an interesting poll this week because we actually have the answer now, and it looks like Superman won, correct? But just barely.
Yeah, just
by the
barely.
So
thinnest of
close.
margins.
Yeah, like by $2 million, like 220 to 218.
But if I'm James Gunn, I am like tooting that horn. Like I don't even
give
care
him any ideas,
if I beat
Jay.
it by $1. Like, like I'm walking around saying that to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was.
I'm interested to see how that continues. Like, which one will have the most legs? Because I don't know. I don't know which one's more rewatchable. Like I said, I think James Gunn's is funnier. I think Superman is funnier and more fun in a way. But like, I watched Fantastic Four twice, and the second viewing was better for multiple reasons, but it was much better. I really enjoyed the second viewing of Fantastic Four.
On the instant reaction for the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast for Fantastic Four: The First Steps, I was a little critical of the pacing, but I will say on a second viewing that could be a benefit to we're talking about the rewatchability and the legs of this movie. I still think it's a little breakneck for my liking. I would like a couple more moments just to breathe a little bit, but the movie does zip by at a really breezy pace. So it could really help with the rewatchability.
Yeah, the way the music really drives the first 40 minutes or whatever just keeps you going. A lot of montagey things, and then even after that sort of settles in, there's still like really fast-paced stuff. And yeah, I was 40 minutes in, and I'm really not much of a rewatcher in general. I have told it on the MCU cast, but I was dealing with my partner had her surgery this week, and it was a big deal, and we were dealing with all that. So I was too tired. I went to see it a couple days after it came out, and I was just wiped out, too sleepy, and I fell asleep in a couple scenes. So I went back to see it, and even though I knew it was coming, I was still just totally on board and like really engaged. So I think it's super rewatchable. Now I think Superman is too, though. Superman is in a way that it has so many different parts that I won't even think about are coming. And I think that the chaos of it makes it rewatchable. And Fantastic Four, the tightness makes it rewatchable. I just don't know what is more rewatchable.
Yeah. I do think both really benefit from rewatches for different reasons. I think Fantastic Four, it's the pacing, it's a little easier to digest what's going on. And then Superman, to your point, I think it is so kind of scattershot in some ways. Like I found myself on a second viewing, it's like, oh, I missed that dialogue. Oh, I missed that dialogue. There are, these separate story elements and character moments that do. I mean, it's all there, but it's kind of blink and you'll miss it in some instances.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into our lightning round. This is where I'm going to read a story, and each panelist will have the opportunity to yell out their name, call out their name to claim the story, and then they will respond to the story. And once per lightning round, we get one rebuttal. So here we go. Marvel Animation's Eyes of Wakanda from executive producer Ryan Coogler will be released earlier than expected very, very soon. The 4-part series, originally slated to drop August 6th, then moved to August 27th, now will be streamed on August 1st on Disney+. The full voice cast also has been revealed along with the first trailer. Matt? Oh my goodness, we've got to get to work planning MCU cast. That's this Friday. That is very, very soon.
They're doing all 4 at once, too. It's not a weekly release.
So. Oh my goodness. Crazy. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of work to do over an MCU cast
schedule.
This week. Got it. I got to clear my schedule.
Surprise.
Why they got to make this week harder for me? We have had a very hard week. And they like it's so close to Fantastic Four. I really do feel like it's going to get buried. We've talked about the all at once drop schedule anyway, kind of burying things. And the fact that Fantastic Four is still going to be the conversation while Eyes of Wakanda is rolling under it, like that just feels not great for Eyes of Wakanda. I kind of wish they'd give it a little space. All right, hot off her Emmy nomination for her work in HBO's The Penguin, Kristen Milioti is jumping into her next screen project, an independent horror thriller titled Buddy. Casper Kelly, who co-created Adult Swim shows such as Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell and the horror comedy viral sensation Too Many Cooks, is directing the feature, and J.D. Lifshitz and Raphael Margulis are producing via the Boulder Light Pictures, which has the upcoming film Weapons on its slate.
Scotty, too many cooks, whoa. I actually didn't read this full breakdown until we were right here, so I didn't know that was a connection, but I love Too Many Cooks. Apart from that, I've seen a handful of episodes of Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, but Kristen Milioti is the real standout here. Take all those flowers you got for the Penguin and run with it. Not too much to say outside of that, but with the connection to Weapons as well, I'm hearing a lot of good buzz for that. So if it's got similar talent attached to it, I think it's a win across the board, and I'll look forward to learning more.
Hulu has announced that all 10 episodes of Solar Opposites' upcoming 6th and final season will drop October 13th on Hulu and Disney+, and released a brief teaser trailer.
Scotty, I know we talked about it when the news first came out that this was going to be the final season, but Solar Opposites is a great show. It is similar to Rick and Morty, but does enough to distinguish itself and be different. And I've compared it to what American Dad is to Family Guy, this is to Rick and Morty, and I think they share a lot of similarities in that regard, with this having a little bit stronger character development. So they're characters that I enjoy a lot. I always laugh a lot, but this feels right. It doesn't need to overstay its welcome. So 6 seasons, dropping all at once right in October, gives me something to look forward to.
Ilya Naishuller is in negotiations to take over as director of Amazon MGM Studios' Roadhouse 2 following Guy Ritchie's exit from the project for undisclosed reasons earlier this month.
Jay, there's not too much to say. We talked about Guy Ritchie leaving this project, so just getting an update on who's taking on the next iteration. So Jake Gyllenhaal's coming back, and we're off to the races on Roadhouse 2 now.
Hans Zimmer will compose the score for the 3rd season of Euphoria alongside British musician Labyrinth, who scored the first 2 seasons.
Haley, lucky you, Euphoria. Good job getting Hans Zimmer. It feels like a weird thing, but maybe they want it to be very cinematic or something. I have not watched Euphoria, so I know what it's about and stuff, but it is an interesting composer pull for a show about
They're like, should we ask him? The worst he could say is no. Let's just ask him.
He's right, I guess. Can I do it from over here in Europe? And they're like, yeah, sure. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. It does seem like a huge get for Euphoria. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I think Euphoria is great. Really great show. Sources confirmed to Deadline that Skylar Gisondo is in talks to join the cast of Universal's next installment in the Meet the Parents franchise, now titled Focker-in-Law. John Hamburg is directing, with the original cast including Robert De Niro, Ben Stiller, Terry Polo, and Blythe Danner returning to star. Ariana Grande is also on board to join the cast.
Scotty, Skylar Gisondo is a Focker. Look at the guy. He's a Focker. So we talked about it when this movie first came out. Ariana Grande is clearly going to be the in-law marrying into the Fockers. But who is not mentioned here, but who I know is returning as well, is Owen Wilson. So look forward to that as well. Wow.
Of course. Hulu announced that Season 5 of its Emmy-winning comedy Only Murders in the Building will debut on the streamer September 9th with 3 episodes, with the remainder of the season rolling out with new episodes weekly.
Haley, I really fell off this show after season 3, so I didn't watch season 4. I've lost interest in it even, which is sad because I loved the first season, and I liked the second season a lot too. But I don't know. Scotty, I thought you watched it, but something about it just lost me.
I started season 4, but didn't stick with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Clearly, people are still watching it, so that's good. But for me, it's done.
Author Mike Chen is penning a prequel novel to the Star Wars Outlaws game called Low Red Moon.
Haley, I don't know anything about the Star Wars Outlaw game, do you? But I will say, just real quick, Mike Chen is a great writer. He did another Star Wars novel called Brotherhood, which is about Anakin and Obi-Wan. And just a real quick, publishing corner, there wasn't a whole lot to come out of San Diego Comic-Con that was major publishing news. This was the biggest get I could see. I know Absolute Wonder Woman won the Eisner Award for Best Series this year, but yeah, not a ton out there. If you really want to know, Google exists for a reason.
Scotty, I'll chime in real quickly just to say I have played Star Wars Outlaws, and I was actually kind of surprised because I think it was a game that was a little bit of a victim of some of the backlash around Ubisoft, because when Star Wars started, licensing their video games out to developers like EA, we've talked about that, what a crapshoot that was, with Battlefront and Battlefront 2 just being basically machines for microtransactions, and you want to win the game, you got to pay this much to win the game, basically. But I am encouraged because I played that game and I was really impressed with the characters and the gameplay and just how it was really, it relished being set in this time period between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So, I think that game, there's no denying that it was not a financial success for anyone involved, but I am encouraged to see that there's enough interest in continuing some of the characters that were at least seated there, and maybe we can see them pop up in other things, be it animation, live action, more video games, more books. I'd be down for it.
HBO Max is progressing with its Booster Gold TV series and has attached Our Flag Means Death creator David Jenkins to write the pilot. If greenlit, the plan is for Jenkins to showrun the DC Studios series.
Jay, this is a pretty good choice, I think, for this, based on just kind of like who that character is and the certain kind of like comedic angles that you kind of have to take with that character and like the kind of ridiculousness of it, like based on kind of like what Our Flag Means Death did and the kind of show that was. This, I think that fits pretty perfectly. Like I think that's a good like I'm down with that. But this is not a confirmation that we're doing it. It's just that he's going to write the pilot. And then it's just like, then we'll just go from there, right? Like if we like the pilot, we'll make it. If we don't, then we won't. So all you Booster Gold fans out there, there's still another hurdle to clear before it's officially official.
Will Rise Darby be Booster Gold?
Netflix renewed Wednesday for a third season ahead of its August 6th Season 2 premiere, and plans are being made for a spin-off series. Matt, I can't believe it took them this long to tell us that plans are being made for a spin-off series. It seems so obvious to me when Wednesday was such a smash hit that like they've already cast a lot of the Addams Family and they've given them some roles in the Wednesday series, and a lot of that cast would be great on their own shows. And I don't know if that's what they're thinking, but I can almost imagine like a Netflix Addams Family Avengers of sorts, where they have a Fester movie and then have a have a thing shorts. I don't know. Do a few things and then have an Addams Family movie that comes out at some point that brings it all together. And I think that like there's a lot of space for that. I think with Wednesday being so successful.
Netflix is like, please do not leave after we drop the last season of Stranger Things. Please.
Yeah, they need something. They need something spooky and ooky. All right, Hulu's Buffy the Vampire Slayer has rounded out its main cast, adding Fali Rakatahavana, Ava Jean, Severance's Sarah Bach, Daniel DiTommaso, and Frasier star Jack Cutmore Scott. Matt, I don't know any of these people, except for Sarah Bach, which she was wonderful on Severance. But I just am excited to hear that this is becoming more real. They have been talking about some return to the Buffyverse for so long, ever since it ended, it feels like 20, 30 years ago. I don't know. Not that long. But I'm really, really excited for the return of this show. And I want more. The Sentry creator, Paul Jenkins, is developing an adult animated comedy based on his superhero satire comic Sidekicks. Sidekicks ran for 5 issues from 2006 to 2007 and took place in Metroville, a city which superheroes are common, as are their underpaid and underappreciated sidekicks. It featured art from Chris Moreno.
Jay, seems like a fun concept, especially as like a animated series kind of spin-off, like No Big Attachments type thing. So yeah, I think it's a kind of an interesting premise.
More than 20 years after the original Bend It Like Beckham released in 2002, director Gurinder Chadha is teasing a sequel to the Keira Knightley football flick in time for the film's 25th anniversary in 2027. This was brought to us by listener and news hound Christian McMullen. Thank you, Christian.
Will they get Keira Knightley out of to star, reprise her role?
Probably.
I don't know.
The money's there.
Yeah. The Materialist filmmaker Celine Song has been tapped to write a sequel to Sony's My Best Friend's Wedding. The original 1997 film starred Julia Roberts and Dermot Mulroney, although it is unclear if they would return for a follow-up.
Haley, what are we doing?
I saw this on Hollywood Reporter like 10 minutes before we recorded, and I was like, this is going in.
Yeah.
I weirdly like My Best Friend's Wedding. It has one of my favorite, I can't think of the exact terminology, but when people bust out in song, when they do that, I say a little prayer for you, when they're all around the table. I love that scene. I just absolutely love that scene. So it's really funny to me to look at Celine's song, and she's just going and she's taking all the flowers and the accolades she got for past lives, and she's going and doing whatever she wants. So I think at one point in time we talked about her being attached to some kind of Buffy project of some kind. Now she's wanting to do a legacy sequel to My Best Friend's Wedding. So she's not necessarily choosing the projects that I would choose for. But then again, I look at Past Lives, and on the surface, that wouldn't have been a film that I would have thought ended up being my favorite film of that year. So The Materialist, was better than I thought it was going to be, and I think is a credit to Celine Song's ability to get great performances from her actors. So we'll keep an eye on this one.
My rebuttal is, are they doing this because Cameron Diaz is like coming out of acting retirement again? And she's like, sure, I'll do it. 'Cause she's like the young bride in the movie. And just, I think it's like right after There's Something About Mary. So she was still pretty fresh on the Hollywood scene. But everybody in this movie is terrible. Like, they're all terrible people. So are they going to stick with terrible people theme? Or are they going to try to make them rectify their mistakes? It'd be kind of funny to see.
A24 has released the first trailer for Eternity, a romantic comedy starring Elizabeth Olsen, Miles Teller, and David Freyna. The film will release in theaters in November.
Scotty, so thinking about the last story we just talked about with Celine Song coming off The Materialist and now working on My Best Friend's Wedding, my real takeaway here, it's a great trailer. It's quaint. It looks like a very novel concept. Basically, you have Miles Teller's character has passed away, and when he enters the afterlife, it's kind of like almost, it feels like Loki with the TVA, where they're taking a other world like heaven and kind of making it bureaucratic in its depiction there. So once he gets to heaven, it's basically like once you get to eternity, you have to choose the person that you're going to live the rest of eternity with. So Elizabeth Olsen plays his romantic partner that died shortly after him, and then you have a third player that kind of comes into the fray. So all of that to say, I think there's just it's interesting to see how the movie landscape kind of ebbs and flows. And we just talked about how superhero fatigue may be going by the wayside for a while, but rom-coms, I feel like, haven't really been a contender in the theatrical space for a long time. Like, they've been relegated to streaming and straight to DVD and stuff like that. So I'm encouraged. I always like a good rom-com, and I feel like we're on like the eve of the return of the rom-com. And if you haven't checked out this trailer, I encourage you to, especially if you're a fan of Elizabeth Olsen's work in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I love a good bureaucratic heaven. I don't know why, but I do. The Good Place had a great bureaucratic heaven. A Life Less Ordinary, I really like that movie, and it has a weird bureaucratic heaven thing going.
I had a dream when I was like 12 or 13, and it's always stuck with me, but I died and went to heaven. And they like let me into heaven. It was like the classic, the pearly gates open, and they let me in. So I went in, I was like, oh, great. And it was a never-ending church service. So like I ran, and I was like shaking on the pearly gates, like, let me out of here. Let me out of here.
Not the religious trauma.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of whenever I first learned about the concept of eternity and I was like 6 and had like a full-blown life crisis.
Broke your brain.
I was like, what? It just goes
That's
on
where
forever.
it started, Jay.
It's really funny,
It never
Jay.
stops.
Most kids around that age learn about dying, and that's the crisis. You were like, I gotta keep doing this.
Yeah. If we better wrap it up. Oh, I don't want to turn this. I don't want to turn this into the religious trauma
Existential
podcast.
crisis cast.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, so check out the Patreon this week for our crisis of faith short take or whatever. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that.
Just crises in general.
Just all crises. All right. Well, we'll be back soon, guys. That's the show. Let's go around and tell people where they can find us online. What we got going on. Jay Sisson?
Commute the podcast still coming out on Monday mornings. So if you've never subscribed over there, please do that.
Sweet. And Haley Hobbs?
So many places. If you want to hear me gush and gush about Fantastic Four, Brian and I's episode on Source Pages is up. We both loved the movie a lot and talked about the things they pulled from the comics we read. Ashley and I are continuing the Sandman Season 2 coverage. We're trying to drop those episodes as quickly as we can. It's just the two of us, so, bear with us. And then we're also still doing our Outlander rewatch. And I'll say, to tag on the Fantastic Four, if you want a podcast that really pays tribute to Jack Kirby and all of the things that he contributed to the comics and art world, check out Jacked Kirby, which my friend Tommy Lombardozzi co-hosts, and they are the experts on that creator, and he deserves the flowers he's getting, and then some.
Yeah. And J. Scotty St. Clair?
Yeah, I'll just once again encourage everybody to go check out the instant reaction we did for the Fantastic Four, the first steps on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast feed. And looking forward to next month with Alien Earth and Peacemaker, hitting the streamers. Look forward to appearing on some other podcasts on the network, namely Always Watching.
Yeah, we got a lot coming up. I was so jealous of y'all's instant reaction. I listened to it and I was just like, it's a funny way of taking notes though. Like normally I try to take a few notes after the theater, but this time I had a few days and I got to listen to you guys podcasting. I was like, oh, I haven't thought about that. Like as I was listening to the podcast, I was taking notes about things I wanted to say, which was kind of fun. So I have we called it a feedback episode. Actually, I don't think, at the beginning we're like, it's a feedback episode. And then I talked for 50 minutes about my Matt's Corner. So like it's a complete crap show over there this week on Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, but go check it out. I talked for 50 minutes about Fantastic Four.
Hey, you better get ready for this Eyes of Wakanda coverage too. Got stuff coming up.
Yeah, I better. I didn't know until I read the script today that was happening. So we've been so focused on Fantastic Four, did not know that. All right, so
you got an entire animated series to watch.
Oh man. All right. Well, we'll be back soon, guys. Peace.
You stay classy, Multiverse.
Hey, thanks for listening to Multiverse News, or watching it, or whatever you're doing. Eyeballs or ear holes, whichever thing. We do this show every week, and we appreciate you listening. StrandedPanda.com is where you can find all of our podcasts. And thank you for listening. Check us out wherever you get podcasts. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the little bell icon, whatever you have on whatever service you're doing. Rate us, like us. We're really thirsty. That's what I'm saying.